So I thank also the remaining brave and the organizers for giving us the opportunity of sharing this piece of knowledge. The introduction is going to be necessarily brief because it has been perfectly introduced by Steve. Just our interest is to try to elucidate which is the underlying molecular mechanisms that could account for the increased risk observed for this variant. And there are two main hypotheses. The first one is that it may increase and activate the Wnt pathway, and the other is that it's a pre-mutation by creating a hypermutable tract within the mutational cluster region. So I was glad that Steve was mentioning that the mental framework to address this issue is to address the issues of variant of unknown significance. And for those of us working in this field for years, we have more and more been identifying new missense APC mutations, and all of you are aware that they are of no clinical use. We all agree that we need many clinical and non-clinical evidences to establish its relevance, and that we need functional assays that we do not know exactly how to interpret in order to elucidate the functional impact of a given alteration. If you want to comment, APC has not been done, studied extensively regarding these missense mutations, is because mainly it's very difficult. We have done it once for a missense mutation, and this is our second or third attempt now with the 1307K. APC is a multifunctional protein, and you can now understand that it will depend on the area of the mutation is placed, that you are going to devise a specific assay. And in the 1307K is located here, and this is a beta-catenin binding domain. So in essence, the first thing we did is to design an assay that assesses the interaction between the APC and beta-catenin using the BioCore platform, and you try to study which are the dynamics of association and dissociation of these two molecules. I don't want to get you into these details. These are increasing concentrations of the protein. In this sense is the area of the protein that contains the mutation. And when in red, you see what it should be done by the wild type protein, and in blue is what does the mutant protein. And this goes for 1307K. And the distinct lines show the replicates of the experiment. We compare this with another variant that has, I would say, convincingly shown that has nothing to do with colorectal cancer risk. That is the 1317Q that is very closely located within the protein. So, to make a story, this is a long story that can be made short. This is wild type, this is our mutation. There is a diminished binding between the mutated protein and beta-catenin. If you want then to understand whether this is going to have a functional impact, then you create a sophisticated system in which you correct for transfection efficiency. You use a reporter system based on luciferase to test for the impact that has the mutation that you are assessing, and you create a negative control for this promoter. So there are many things to control here. This is quite sensitive, and you have to put your wild type, a number of mutations. This is a bona fide truncating mutation. This was the mutation that we used to characterize a number of years ago, and these are the three mutations that we were characterizing at this time. This is the wild type. This is what looks like the mutant, and this is where our missense mutations are located, and I just want to draw your attention to 1307K, meaning that this is affecting and modestly but significantly activating Wnt pathway in this model system. We obtained similar results in mother cell system, and we corrected for the level of the APC protein expression. If this is correct, and our hypothesis, this should include and induce an increase of MYC expression, because MYC is kind of the paradigm of what is activated in the transcriptional program, activated by a Wnt activation, and this is what happened. We have again a modest increase of MYC expression that is in the very similar range than these two other variants that have been identified in distinct attenuated familial anomatous polyposis families. Again, similar results were obtained in another cell system. The other thing that happens when APC is disrupted is that beta-catenin is no longer degraded, and it goes and accumulates mainly in the nuclear, but mainly in cytoplasmic. And then we also did in the same cells, expected cells, Western blot, looking for distinct patterns of accumulation of beta-catenin in the nucleus and the cytoplasm. And it turned out that, again, 1307K in the similar range than the other mutation that we were assessing, induced an accumulation of cytoplasmic beta-catenin. 2 minutes. Yeah. The next assay that we attempted to do was to assess whether this was going to affect the tumorigenicity by injecting these transfectants in the neon mice. And what happened is that we didn't see any significant impact in tumor growth, which could be kind of anticipated. This is a non-sensitive assay. But then we took advantage to look for mutations in this hypermutable tract, because this gene has been now transfected, and there are many copies of the hypermutable tract. But doing this at high depth, both in the whole tumor and selected areas within the tumors, we found no additional mutations. This is the summary. I haven't shown you many of the results of the other mutations, but just to show that there is a significant evidence in vitro that suggests that there is a modest impact of 1307K that activates the Wnt pathway after affecting the beta-catenin affinity. We hypothesize that this increase is consistent with the increased risk observed for colorectal cancer. In our model system, that I would say that it is not very sensitive, we have not found any evidence of additional mutations in this hypermutable tract. And I thank you for your attention.
Time for 2 questions. Yes.
You probably know we started with 1307Q mutation some 10 years ago, and pointed out that it has charge variation. It's exactly in the region where you would expect to have an effect. And there was a very clear association with increased risk of multiple polyps. And it's interesting that we've been able to show that for the 1307, which we suggested would have a similar effect to that, which you have shown. But it does also suggest that the assays that we're using for assessing those effects are not sensitive enough to pick up what clearly has to be a functional effect of the 1307Q.
Well, I think that we have shown that there is an impact on Wnt activation. I didn't get you correct.
No, he was talking about the 1317.
The 1317.
E1317Q,
yeah,
which is the other one that we studied.
I know.
It has a very clear effect on the risk of multiple polyps has a charge variation in the same region. And so it suggests that your assay for looking for those effects may not be sensitive enough to pick up something.
For the sake of brevity, I didn't enter into this. I think that there are two things. If I was, if instead of me was Ian Tomlinson here, would have said that there is no formal proof that there is a hypermutable track, and would be extremely, I would say,
I point out that Ian Tomlinson's work was done with William.
I know. But he would, I want to highlight the issue that there is a lot of controversial evidence regarding the role of 1317.
Thank you very much.
The epidemiological evidence is very clear for it.
Thank you very much. Last question.
British Diary Catalan, Israel, a genetic counselor. I just wanted to tell you that over lunch we were sitting and talking with a colleague, and she saw Rosalind Franklin's cousins, so there is mutations. You can tell you which mutation tomorrow. With 1307, we've known the risk for 20 years. Coming from the clinical side, we're missing the exact clinical indication for stepping over. Just any Ashkenazi with colon cancer, Ashkenazi with family history of colon cancer, and screening follow-up. Sort of no progress has been made over 2 decades despite.
It is difficult to make a formal recommendation on screening in this kind of low risk or moderate risk alleles, but you could possibly argue that you can perform more often colonoscopies beginning at a given age.
All right. Thank you very much.